I'd like to call to order this meeting, the Ripon Public Library Board of Trustees, Tuesday, April 15th, 5 p.m. We're meeting here in the Silver Creek Room. I'd like to do a roll call.
Iverson here.
Lisa Weeks present.
Schrader here.
Bosco here.
Madaram as well. Okay. We've got our minutes from our meeting on March the 18th.
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Got that done. All right, Director.
Yes, let me pull up my report here. Apologies for the technical difficulties. All right, here we are. So firstly, a Friends Foundation update. I did include this in your packet. They have signed the memorandum of understanding. So pretty much the copier is ours. As the library, we will pay any maintenance fees associated with it. The memorandum of understanding is in place, that they still get free Friends-related copies and prints moving forward. I also placed in your packet a copy of the invoice that I submitted with the check for the program budget. That is not the entirety of the budget, that is a portion to cover summer reading. That aligns us with the auditor's expectations and what was put forth, that everything needs to run through the city from now on. So I'm working with the finance director to get a code, so all programming costs, we have an invoice, we code it accordingly, the city pays it out.
Any questions on that matter, anybody, about that movement? Yeah, so now we should be, the auditor should be very happy.
Yes.
We got this in place.
And then another part of your packet, and obviously a portion to talk about, is the Volker estate. I reached out to and spoke to Shad over at Edward Jones here in town. There were, sorry, I'm pulling it up while I'm talking. There were Smucker stocks in place, 60 shares total. I asked for him during the meeting for an approximate of what that amounts to. It is roughly $7,000.
Seven.
Yep. So what will need to be done is that the library has to temporarily open an account so those shares can be pushed over, and then we can sell them and a check will be cut. Unfortunately, the way it was set up and kind of the paper trail that we're finding with LUD is that's the only way to get those stocks sold.
Do you want to have that closed right away? In case this happens again, could you keep it open, or is there some
Keep what open, dear?
the account, in case someone else wanted to leave a stock?
Oh, the library account?
Yeah.
With Edward Jones?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly could, and speaking with Shad, he said that this is typically, any of his clients, this is not how it's left, if he knows that this is their wishes going forward. It's usually designated, because there's no designation with Edward Jones for how this should be handled. This is kind of our only option. Typically, he said that we would never need to do this.
Transfer on death usually.
Yeah.
Like that was the way the rest of the estate was taken care of, like all the cash accounts. Transferred to us automatically.
But could we use this account if someone left us stock again?
Sure.
In the normal way?
Yes,
So
you-
I'm wondering if we should just
Are
leave
there
it
any,
open for certain
any fees
costs.
associated with the train?
That I do not know, but I can find out.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're meeting with LUD tomorrow too, so. Put this down as a question.
Who we working with at Edward Jones?
Shad on the other side of town, I think.
Yes,
He's not
yes.
the one up now, he's the one over by,
Mr. and Mrs. Fees.
yes, over that direction.
Chad.
It's Shad, S-H-A-D, bear with me here on the last name, I can pull that up.
Make sure he knows this is for a private, not-for-profit, or a not-for-profit organization and an entity of the city.
Yes. I think the city actually has an account there.
Do they?
I believe so, so we
Okay.
may not have to open our
And
own
he was
account.
reaching out to Adam with next steps as
Yeah.
far as some additional information
Yeah.
he needed. His name is Shad Horton.
Okay.
Here at the local Edward Jones.
So we do have a down at, when we get into action items, we do have an action relating to the, taking care of that money. A sidebar, this, I'd like Don to introduce himself. This is Don Case, who lives lived next door
Right,
to Marvin Volker.
yeah, it was, yeah, early September, I cut his grass and he didn't come out, which was odd, and found him laying on his floor, he'd been there at least a day from what they figured.
Oh, no.
And he went to the hospital, ended up at Whispering Pines, then he decided to stay there, he was there for rehabilitation. Said it was okay to go ahead and sell his house and his car, and I talked to Special Properties right over here. They looked at the house, went up to talk to him, and then he was kind of out of it, it was like $300,000, the house obviously isn't worth that much.
No.
And I talked to him a couple days later, and his mind really went fast, and he thought he sold his house years ago, and just,
Yeah.
and I had taken like his checkbook to him and taking his mail, and that's the only reason, well, a couple of the other neighbors told me he left everything to this Ripon library. Well, I have next to his checkbook, there was a handwritten note that I leave everything to the city of Ripon library, and then I saw the deed with the transfer on death, and so things kind of went, and then
But you were saying, Don, that in those 7 years when you
Yeah,
knew
he-
him, that he never,
he never wants to, I've chatted with him
Never
once or
talked
twice
about
a week about weather or basically nothing. And he never once mentioned finances or health. I thought he was living paycheck to social security check to social security check, so. He lived like all of his shoes had duct tape on them.
oh my
So,
goodness.
He's a friendly
Wow.
guy, but
Wow.
but
Do you
I do
know-
have a lot of information about the house as far as condition and stuff like that if you're interested, but I'm
Yeah.
sure you'll figure that out soon.
Well, we can have another conversation, you and I, about
Okay.
that condition stuff. Do you know, did he work at Smucker's?
For a short, I don't know exactly how it worked, because I worked at Smucker's at one time too, but he worked at Arline Foods, and I think they were bought out by Smucker's or something somewhere in there, so he was at both. Early on, he was in the 40s and 50s, he was a milk truck hauler, back when they had the canned milk they put on the trucks.
Okay.
And he drove school bus, worked for a feed co-op,
Okay,
so, and his wife worked at Brown's Bakery here in town, along with some other jobs.
okay,
She died like 7 years ago,
okay,
shortly, about 2 weeks after I moved there.
okay.
Did they have a little dog that they used to walk all the time?
Yeah, I think it was a
Yeah, it was a
poodle,
little,
and I think they had one before that, I saw a couple pictures there where they were much
Okay.
younger with the dog, so obviously it wasn't the same dog, but they looked the same.
my dad is from in that neighborhood and they would
Oh.
walk around the area and I never knew his name. And I bet
He would
that's-
sit on his porch all day long, I guess, and just wave at the kids,
Oh.
so,
And he was how old?
98.
He was
Oh,
98.
my.
Isn't that crazy? Well, Don, we just want to thank you for your stewardship of the house in this period and how much we appreciate that.
Yeah, I just want to follow up just because, I guess it was his wish that it went to the library, or I'm assuming probably his wife's, because I didn't see a book in his house, but,
Okay.
I don't know. And, so I just kind of wanted to, that's what he wanted, and then secondly, we just don't want to, neighbors don't want to see the house sitting empty or unattended.
Absolutely, yes,
Make
we
sure
will,
the grass gets taken care of, stuff like
yeah,
that.
we will be making a decision tonight and things will be rolling.
Yeah,
So
the
I can
sidewalks,
just
we've been
assure
taking care of
you,
the sidewalk all winter, hasn't been a problem. It's
Okay.
just, people don't want to do it forever.
no, that won't be the case. Okay. Anything else we can answer for you?
That's probably long.
Okay, all right, thank you. Appreciate you being here and taking care of that. Okay,
Excellent. Next item is statistics. Continuing to get those updated each month. All of our numbers are looking good. Something of note is, bear with me here. I was looking at our overdrive circulations in regard to the effects with Hoopla being terminated. There has not been a significant increase or decrease. Which to me is very interesting. Typically, if a service is cut that's similar, you'll see one or the other. It is holding steady. So that to me is a good sign.
okay.
Any questions about statistics? I'm happy to answer those. Okay.
Okay. On to finances. We have got the library checks from March. Any questions? Any concerns about that? $7,700. book purchases, quite a bit of that
Mhm.
number, and an insurance payment that was part of that.
There is one that I was unfamiliar with, that's Archive Social. That is something that the city does to
Mhm.
archive our social media pages. So that is my first go
Yeah,
of that one.
we do that with all the entities.
Yeah.
Okay,
Fire board has that, it's all
so
archived.
everybody
Good
is,
idea.
so
Yep.
everybody's sharing that, yeah, the
Yeah,
cost of
we all
that.
share the
Yeah.
cost.
Okay. Moving on to the financials for March. We are, as of March, of course, quarter of the year is done. The only thing that looks ahead of schedule is repairs and maintenance. We are having to do a replacement of a piece of equipment
Mhm.
in advance of the renovation.
And I can speak to that
Yeah.
briefly.
That'd be good.
The water heater is actively leaking. I reached out to our plumber that we use. It will not make it 90 days. I point blank asked him. I was like, will it make it to the renovation? So that was planned for within the renovation. So I reached out to MSA and also looped in our public works director, Alan, on next steps, because I want to ensure that we are replacing with what we planned for and matching and it is cohesive with the renovation. So that is what we're currently working on right now. We are under no active threat of flooding, I have been assured.
Yeah.
Because that was
That's
my
good
major
news.
concern, especially because it did start leaking around the same time as the book sale, so it was kind of
Oh.
of course it did.
Oh, no. Oh, bummer.
So that is.
So there's a plan in place.
There
to-
is, there
yeah,
is.
So
Yes.
that it coordinates with
Yeah,
the
but that
overall
is,
plan.
with the repair cost, that is something, that is why it is what it is right now. And if we've cobbled along the boiler, I'm hoping for warm weather ahead, because again, that is part of the renovation plan, is to replace the one we're having issues with.
Okay.
Can we submit the invoice on a later date to be reimbursed for that in the
Yeah,
I can certainly.
renovation
yeah.
Yeah.
Good
as
point.
part,
How
from the
much are we
building
looking
fund?
for, a couple of thousand for that?
Do you have a quote already or no?
I don't have a
Oh,
quote
not
yet,
yet.
no. If I remember correctly, and I can pull those numbers back up, from the estimated, from PRA, it was roughly 30,000.
Also commercial
But
water.
I don't know if that it was,
Commercial water heater.
Because it's
Yeah.
a water heater to heat for the,
Oh, yeah,
30,000?
I believe so.
yeah.
I can pull that back up, I have it in our archive.
Okay, well, yeah, just
That's
check
a good
if we
point,
do it
though.
now, well, it was in the plan and we had to do it now, can we get reimbursed with it later?
Yeah, I can certainly find out.
I mean, that would be,
Would be the way to go.
I mean, if it's not gonna last, we gotta fix it, if we don't get reimbursed, we don't get reimbursed, but I
Should
would like
be.
to, we should.
Well, if it's already contemplated
It's already in there,
in the,
it's all bad at building.
in the equipment for the rental, then that's part of that grant money
Right,
funding. Yeah, okay. Thanks for that, Alan. Anything else on the March financials? Anyone? Moving on to the OACF, we have 3 months worth of reports here. What I wanted to bring to people's attention was in the month of March, we received another significant donation from the Sensenbrenners outside of, in addition to, I should say, their original pledge. So it's almost $61,000 of new money.
Is that the rental?
Yes, yeah, yeah, they sold stock and it went directly to the renovation fund.
Yeah, and I did recently meet with Peter, and I showed him what the plans are for the outside, as that matches what his original naming rights were. He's very excited for it. He's a really nice guy. He's very laid back. He's like, if there's some place my money would be better served, I'm happy to put my name on something else. So this was and he made no mention of the additional donation that he was making at that time.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes, yeah. So I did make sure to send him a handwritten thank you
Yeah.
from us acknowledging that as well.
So that's quite a lovely thing to have happen.
Absolutely.
Just drop it in.
Remember that name when we have a grand opening.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, I asked Alex if she had any thoughts about the money, besides if we wanted to do something on the outside that relates to, in addition to the other money that he gave. But she also talked about perhaps the refresh of this room.
Yeah, this room is not currently slated for any updates aside from, for lack of a better way to put it, bumpers on the walls. So the tables and chairs aren't hitting like they currently are. But there's certainly room for improvement to the technology. If you check out our projector up there, it is mounted to a 2x4. You know, likewise, this room is not great acoustically. I've had several of our patrons who use hearing aids make a point of asking if there's anything we can do to improve that. It just, how it reverberates within this room. So that is something that we can look at. There's also newer technology now with hearing loops. I have no idea on cost on those, but that is something that a lot of libraries are putting in, including Appleton with their recent renovation.
So the thought was that perhaps we could direct some money from that new money towards this, and then maybe change the name of this room to honor them, maybe. Just a possibility.
Yes. And I will insert, I misspoke in my 8-point font here. I was looking at the wrong line in plumbing. You are right, that is way too expensive for a water heater.
Yeah.
The new domestic heating plant they have listed is $5,000,
Thank
so
you.
much more, better cost.
Cause I'm like, what are you heating with
My-
that water?
everything.
Showers, are you showering?
$30,000
I was looking at the sewer traps, wrong line.
It's very
It is
small.
very small.
Much better.
So my apologies, but I did want to make sure that was corrected.
Alex, can you quickly go through, I just don't feel like I really understand that Winnifox report that's part of our
The
financial
finances?
reports. Yeah.
So what you're really looking on in that is a lot of it does not change. I put it in there specifically for, on the far right, it has the Ripon Public Library balance. That 16,000 that is there is
Okay.
what is tentatively known as our technology funds.
Okay.
They have not updated that number, and I've reached out to them because we have made a couple purchases. We've updated our office suite and our public computers to 2021 because we were running very old,
We're
unsupported.
located in 2021.
Yes, and 2021 is still a lot better than what we were at. And likewise, there has been an update to 3 staff computers to newer laptops as well.
Okay.
Retiring one of the old ones to a public use computer. So that is rolling out part of the plan as the renovation to get our internal computers updated, because some of them are approaching a decade at this point.
So this is a fund of money that it's to our discretion.
It is,
Okay.
it is. Initially, it's my understanding from how Winnifox explained it to me, it was designated as a technology fund. That is all it was to be used for. That is no longer the case. They found that they can't do that.
Oh,
So if it needed to be applied to something else, that is a possibility.
This is at 16,000?
Yes, correct.
does it grow?
It does not grow.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
It was, I think in the past, it's like an inherited thing where we were expected to put a certain amount of money into. We have not been adding to it.
Okay.
So what
It-
did you spend, you think, that have come off there?
I can find out, I don't wanna quote you an incorrect number, but not a significant chunk, under
Okay.
5,000.
Okay,
Okay.
And we have budgeted out for all of the, staff and public computers, and we have it within budget to do the
Okay.
replacements we need to.
wonderful.
Okay. Can I get a motion to accept the financial reports?
I'll give a motion to accept the financial reports.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Moving on, establishment of Friends donation budget line at the city for programming.
Yes, sorry, changing gears in my brain. So that's kind of briefly what I had already touched on. The Friends have agreed to comply with what the auditor suggested. We will have a line at the city where their donations for our programming goes. That way internally, they are not cutting us the library checks. It all runs through the city. Everything is coded to that line. And I'm working with Sean as next steps to get that number. I submitted the check earlier this week, the 5,000.
Sean is the
Sean
finance
is the city
director.
finance director.
Okay.
Yes,
So that's something we need to get done.
yes.
Okay,
Yeah, but everything on our end is in place and ready to roll.
okay. All right, moving on to the obsolete furniture and equipment.
Yeah,
Maybe you can use the situation that's at hand as the point of where to start, and then we can
sure. So as
talk
we're
about it.
preparing for the renovation, specifically, we've been going through the adult collection and doing maintenance. I had found that it hadn't been done in several years. So getting our house in order. We have got it set up now where we no longer need to use the spinner racks in the adult fiction collection. If you're not familiar with those, they were holding the mass markets. They're very, very old, very outdated, and weigh quite a bit. So they are currently sitting empty. It's never a good look on our site to have empty displays, just hanging out in the library, but they're no longer needed. And they weren't great for patrons to use. In looking at the statistics for those books that were in those spinners, many hadn't been checked out in years, because folks just didn't either know where to find them, or they were in very poor quality, and not something you'd want to take home.
Paperback rack?
Yes, yeah, we call them mass markets, but the little kind of bodice river size books. Yeah. Yes, so those are currently empty. So it's kind of next steps in looking at the renovation and going forward. We are definitely going to run into more obsolete furniture that we no longer need. So it's kind of what the board's approach would like to be on how that is handled.
Would the Friends like those?
The Friends do not want those. I did ask.
We can't give them away, I think is
But
what
there
we're
is
learning.
someone that's interested
There
in
is
that.
someone who's interested in 4 of them, not all of them. I just found
How
out.
many of them do you have?
I believe it is 6 right now.
Oh, good.
So, and so there are, do you want me to talk about kind of what I mentioned, the different approaches?
Yeah.
So with that, I have reached out and I've been talking with Adam about how do we handle the things that we would like to sell or get rid of. And there is a system in place that the city uses for all the other departments. There's a government website where things are essentially sold as a lot. But in working in other libraries and seeing how other libraries do things, you know, a lot of smaller libraries will put things on, there's a library listserv that goes out that says, hey, we have X, Y, and Z we would like to either sell or give away for free. You know, I've seen libraries put things on Facebook Marketplace, depending on what it is. It just is the quantity and quality is what it comes down to on where you list something. The spinners, it is my personal opinion that if we can get someone to move them for free.
It's like a piano.
Yes. But we are gonna run into other things, you know, for example, there is a sofa upstairs that should probably just go straight into a dumpster. I don't imagine anyone would wanna purchase it. And once we have that on site, but you know, there's piece by piece, we'll run into old technology that we are taking out and components like that.
So we need to make a decision what we would like to have our policy. Do we want to adopt the city policy? Do we want to use that venue?
Oh, use it like the Wisconsin surplus side?
Yeah.
Yes, that is how the city
Yeah.
handles
Or
it.
do we
Yeah.
want to first go to the library to, if it's library-specific equipment, should we go to the listserv to help out other libraries?
I like that idea, just because it gives other libraries who may not have the budget for things like that, where they could maybe make something, you know.
Maybe someone would take a couple of them and one of them.
Or they may have a friend's sale where they like to store stuff. But I mean, my preference is just to reuse, not throw out. Avoid dumpster if we can. That would be my preference.
And recalling back to PRA when they brought in, the current plan is reusing quite a bit of our furniture. It's a healthy mix of new and old. We're looking at things that, like the spinners, people don't, you browse the books there because they're a pain to get to. They're not great for staff to re-shelve things on, you know. Nothing's ever quite in order on
It's
those.
obsolete.
It is, it's not how any
Obsolete.
library that can help it is currently storing
Where
their
are the
books.
paperbacks? Where did you
They've
put
been moved over to the shelving where our DVDs are. So we've repositioned.
So we were just discussing this now, we're gonna vote on it.
Well, we should discuss
Right,
enough to have an idea of what we would like to vote on.
I like the idea of the listserv, see if we just get rid of it. I really don't think we're gonna get any money
No.
for it.
Yeah,
Don't worry about the money.
it's really, yes,
No,
right,
I-
it's more
I-
about getting it.
And
Recycle.
but
Recycle.
recycle if we can, yeah.
And
But-
simultaneously to put it out on social media.
Yeah.
And whoever takes them, takes them.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
What other,
Just if they could sign something that they're taking them as is,
As is where it is, yeah.
and,
Simple.
Because they have to
the,
move them themselves.
yeah, the library is
And
not
yes.
liable for.
And we're not gonna
Anything.
participate in moving it.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there any other equipment that we're gonna be going through with this? Is this, we're setting policy of like old chairs or whatever?
Off the top of my head, the only other thing we've run into is we had some Ring cameras from COVID that were in the romper room. They have not been used. The login is tied to Desiree, so no one can get into it anyway. You know, and those I've sat on. I had a staff member ask if they could have them, and I said and that's when I had the conversation with Adam about how
Yeah.
best practices on how we should be handling that. So
We
I did
can't
not
even
let
use
staff
them.
take them.
We can't even use them.
Correct, but they can be reset and used by someone else if they wanted to, but knowing as part of the renovation, we want to put in a true system rather than kind of
We
cobbled
don't
together.
want them, but
Correct, we do not.
Janet,
Let's just make sure that we have a list, so that if someone comes back later, where did that go? That was mine. We just need a list of everything that went out the door
And to
and
clarify,
where it went.
the only thing that would ever be anybody else's is the art, and we have been reaching
Yeah.
out to
But I
anyone
still
that we know.
think we need a list if someone says, what did you all throw out? What did you do with it, or something, just to be able to answer them. If it's really basic, 10 chairs, 20, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
6 spinners, whatever.
And I don't wanna overstep on this, it is a board decision, but I could see a negative spin to that, if it's, you know, what did you throw out?
Well, I'm trying to avoid the negative, I guess, is to say, here's what we did with it responsibly, we had this discussion, and this was the best we could come up with to recycle, and, yeah, not put any burden on any of our staff people, or, you know, it's just a decision made, and
So-
why we made it.
so any item, so for instance, these Ring camera things, does that get treated the same way? Put into the listserv and the social media?
Yeah.
What if you have, like Alex is in this situation, what if you have a staff member who comes first
Yeah, I think
in
you need to
line?
be careful with that.
I know.
It'd be great if you could give them that, but then that might open the floodgates, and then you're like getting rid of something because they wanted it. I don't know, I don't know.
I mean, if we're giving it away anyway, who cares who takes it? We're not charging them, we're
As
not.
long as it goes out there, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if we were selling it and planning to get some money for it, and then we gave it to a staff member, I'd be more concerned, ethically speaking, than I would if we're just giving it away and this person wants it, give it to them, just so it's out the door.
Yep, get rid of it.
So once it's been identified as being under this definition of obsolete, then it becomes,
Right. And I think
Goes-
that's probably where we need to clarify is, why are we giving this away?
Right.
Because it's obsolete,
Yeah,
and we don't
it's
want it
obsolete,
anymore.
or it's
Maybe
not gonna be
taking
used,
inventory of
or it's
what that
it's
is.
being replaced,
We have no
yes.
need for it, yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And again, that's gotta be the decision of the, the director.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to come to the board
Oh,
each
no.
and every time.
No.
We've got a little file cabinet here, what do you wanna do with it?
No,
Handle it.
oh, yeah.
Unless
right.
something's worth hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
That would be when we.
Of significant value,
Yeah.
then,
And it's something that I wanted to clarify on my end and for staff as well, because I have seen the libraries, and this is kind of, it's a funny joke. There was a library in Iowa who tried to sell a used toilet. You know, like it was any money we can get out of anything was kind of the approach. So I want to make sure that I'm handling it to your wishes on that end.
It's gotta be worth more than the time and effort.
That's
of
right.
Trying to.
Yeah,
sell it.
do it
Yes.
at, right,
Yes.
there you go.
Okay.
It's a common sense kind of decision. Okay, well, gentlemen, we're ready to go into closed session, so,
And I do think
If
you
you wanna
have,
step off a little bit, we're gonna
Yes.
reconvene. and then-
okay, I have to read that
Then we're going
before we
back into
go?
closed session,
Okay.
and then we're going to reconvene for the rest.
Okay, so pursuant to section 19.85 1E of the Wisconsin, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one. 19, pursuant to section 1985 1C of the Wisconsin state statutes in order to discuss matters pertaining to employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data. We are going into a closed session.
Move to go to closed session.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Lisa was second.
We are now reconvening into open session, and we are pursuant to section 19.851E of the Wisconsin state statutes in order to discuss the competitive or bargaining components of the sale of the local property at 59 Wawa Avenue. We are going to go into a closed session.
Motion to adjourn to closed session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay.
We're back into open session, and we're going to move into our action items. First action item is a vote to authorize the board president to execute the transfer on death for the Volker property at 59 Wawa Avenue and to serve as a personal representative of the estate.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No opposition. Okay. Number 2, we're going to vote on the process that's going to be used to sell the Volker property at 59 Wawa Avenue.
I would make a motion to authorize the solicitation of Ripon Ripon Realtors to submit a request for, or a proposal to the Library Board of Directors for the sale of the property at 59 Wawa Avenue.
To the board or to
To the board or the
or to
personal
the
rep?
personal rep?
We weren't gonna vote on it. As a board.
To the personal representative. My apologies.
Should we reread it? Can you read it to us?
hold on. I'm writing it all down, I wanna make sure I got it. So the motion was to authorize the solicitation of Ripon Realtors to submit a proposal to the personal representative for the sale of the property at 59 Wawa Avenue.
We have a motion from Al,
Second.
second from Doug. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No opposition. Okay, number 3, we need to vote to update the board resolution for authorized signatures on the Ripon Public Library accounts with OACF to replace the director with a signature from one of the 2 executive committee officers of the Ripon Public Library Board. Could I get a motion
I'll
for that?
make a motion to accept the update to the board resolution for authorized signatures on the RPL accounts with the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation.
I need a second.
A second.
Lisa seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. D, vote to deposit the Volker Estate the sale of the, let me back up. We vote to deposit the proceeds of the sale of the Smucker stock, which is held inside the Volker Estate. Upon receipt of those proceeds, we will deposit that money into the Ripon Public Library General Fund at the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation.
I'll
Could I get a motion?
make a motion to accept that.
Doug?
I'll
To
second.
accept the deposit of the Volker Estate Smokers Funds into the general fund of the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation.
Second, Janet. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? No. And our final action item is our directive regarding the disposition of obsolete equipment at the library.
I would make a motion to empower the library director to dispose of the obsolete equipment and/or furnishings through a listserv through Winnicott, or the Winnifox system, and social media at no cost, given that the equipment and furnishings have no value.
A second?
We have a second from Lisa. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No opposition. Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.